but his insurance is better. Like way better. So I just hope that they cover the stuff that I've already gotten covered. We're missing. Where is Steven Safer not coming
Steven
today?
is still out of commission. Unfortunately.
That sucks.
Steven is still not sitting.
Really?
And he's not Zooming?
He is not Zooming currently.
When are you going to give him a difficult time?
When he gets better.
Okay.
It's slower than
But rather gives us a difficult time when we don't Zoom. If we don't show up and we don't Zoom, then...
Right.
Yeah. But you're well. I gather he's read this already, hasn't he? I feel like he has. It was his idea, so... Wasn't it? Or was
it was his idea. Yeah, it was definitely his idea.
Missing? Oh, Brad. Where's Brad? Oh,
I don't know where Brad is. That I couldn't tell you.
Okay. I don't remember Rabbi Nickman ever giving anybody a hard time.
Yeah, text him real quick because...
You might want to get that memory looked at.
I feel blessed. Like, he just told me that I'm well, which is like, that's a huge...
Right?
Who's that?
It's huge.
What about Lynn? Is Lynn on?
Lynn is on. Herbie is on. Geula is on.
Herbie's not here?
Herbie's busy.
Lame. I'm kidding. He's probably doing something important.
I think maybe Herbie's doing something.
Yeah, he's doing something very much more important.
That's correct. But he's here anyway. All right. Okay.
Do the Goodwill Committee. No, it's. Okay. I knew who it was until you asked.
So it's not.
Not BBJ. Oh, okay.
But,
It's in Atlanta. It is.
All right, where are we up to?
Oh, okay.
And he's going to be buried here.
Oh, there he is. Nice of you to show up, sir.
Hey.
How's it going?
I didn't mean to pry, I just needed
coffee today, so I'm good.
That's
That's strong coffee.
All right, who else are we missing? Is that it?
Yes, so.
274, 274.
Yeah, we're not waiting on anybody. We're
I don't know.
just
My
going.
bookmark was on page 151, so I don't know what happened. I think one of my kids probably
Wow.
sabotaged me.
Love it. Blaming the kids.
One of them sabotaged me. 274.
I wanted to.
All right, we have a few. We have a few
wait, I wrote it
votes for
down, didn't I?
274.
No, I didn't. Like, where was I last week? I was here.
First was if we were on the second paragraph, third paragraph that starts there, but I don't think we were on the fourth paragraph. The Shorish called Mitulava. I think.
Mm-hmm. All right.
The middle paragraph above.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Any thoughts on what we're up to? Was anyone paying any attention last week?
I definitely was not.
No. Okay. I'm
I'm
glad.
I didn't have my book, so I was just reading.
Yeah.
Listen, it's
Well, that
an
doesn't
interesting
count.
day already.
No, bookmarks don't
Good,
count.
interesting. That's funny.
Ay. All right. I think that means we have to recap last week's class. That stinks.
What's in it,
Well,
a
that's never
recap?
happened.
A whole recap?
That's never happened.
Yeah, exactly.
What last week's recap?
We're somewhere in the
All right,
third
here's what I wrote
paragraph.
down.
But I presume that you finished the third paragraph
I just started.
on
I'm
275.
going to take better notes.
Just recap.
All right. All right.
Sometimes bad things can be seen as difficult because we aren't seeing the light. That was
Remember
the very
Barry
beginning.
asked why
1 minute recap.
how
Yeah.
to be comfortable.
Removing bad traits
Never
plus
replaced that.
replacing with something good. We talked about
Alright.
addiction. It's very
All
easy to
right.
apply in certain situations, but not
We
all.
can start with the question.
Yeah, I think we're
Yeah.
Concept of any manifestation of Ra is because of Hester.
All right. Let's go through a brief recap again.
And y'all let me know if you need the fan on.
Okay. So what we said, what we've been saying for the last few weeks has been that every single thing that happens is Hashem's doing. Things don't happen on their own. Things don't happen because of people. Things don't happen because of natural occurrences. Things happen because Hashem makes them happen. That's how the world works. And the concept of evil is something which is also a product of this process. In order for the world to be balanced, there has to be equal parts of good and evil. And people need to be able to choose equally between good and evil in order to earn our reward. And that's the purpose of creation. So there has to be this evil in the world, and it has to be balanced. Now, we mentioned over here that the purpose of the evil in the world is both, or existing both within a person and without. Those are there for the purpose of people overcoming, defeating, and conquering this evil, again, both within and without, and then to replace it with goodness. So that's the general gist of what he's been saying over here. Okay? All right, so I think we should start again from Umimash Nichlal Oid. Where is that in yours?
Top of 274, about 5 lines down, 4 lines down.
Okay.
Yeah.
274.
Line that stands out by itself.
All right, it's its own, the first new paragraph.
Starts
Okay.
also. Right.
All right. So Umimash Nichlal Oid ba'omek zeh ha'inyan. And from that which is also included in the depth of this concept, Hugilei Amitas Yichudei Yisbarach, is the revelation of Hashem's oneness. Vizeh, and this is Kihine. Hey, there we go.
Wow.
Kvar Be'arnu Sheklal Kol HaMasibais HaSevivais Ba'olam.
Good morning.
We've already explained that the rule, the common factor for all things that happen in the world, Hu Shehine Bara Habayri Yisbarach Es Hara. Because Hine, Hashem, I had to translate it as Hine, because apparently nobody heard it.
I was clearing on it. I don't know.
Hashem created
I'm just gonna leave this in my hand.
Es Hara,
Okay.
evil, L'Shiyaviru B'nei Ha'adam, so that people should remove it. The reason it was created was in order for people to remove it. V'yikba'u ba'atzmam u'ba'briya etzatype. And they should establish within themselves and within all of creation the goodness in the place of this evil that exists. V'hine, Chukim Rabim, yes he is. Chukim Rabim v'shirashim gedalim. There are very many number of statutes and shirashim gedalim and great roots, hushushu be'inyan hazeh, that are involved in this process of what it takes for all of this evil to be there, in the way that it can be removed and the way it can be replaced. All of that whole calculation is extremely complex. It has to be split up into all its different components, all of its different parts. Ki'ulam. Pratim rabim yimatze be'inyan mitziusay shel harava bria. There are a lot of details involved in the concept of the existence of evil in the world, in creation. Pu'ulaisav ishlitasai, what it does, and when it's able to reign. The pratim rabim. And in addition, there are similarly many details involved in man's relationship with the evil. When a person is put under the influence of evil, or put within the evil environment, and when it comes to a person's ability to overcome it, and to remove himself from its chains, and to conquer it, and the concept of the existence of good, the way that is able to spread and be strengthened is based on the amount of evil and its being subdued and being conquered. So, what he's saying here is that there are so many different factors in evil in the world, because every single time someone or something that's looks what we call bad happens, there's going to be people affected by it, and all of those effects have to be taken into account before it can happen. And if someone perpetrates evil against someone else, so then not only is the victim affected, but everyone who has a relationship with the victim is also affected to a certain degree. And then there are global schemes that need to be taken into consideration, and how one thing leads to the next, and how one person's actions will potentially result in a retaliation from someone else, and then all of those repercussions. And there are so many calculations that go in, and that's just from one person doing one thing. Now think about a hurricane, right? Now all of a sudden you're talking about affecting millions of people, and all of the people that they affect, and all of their lives, and all of the different factors. There's so much involved that obviously there's no way any of us could ever make those kinds of calculations. But every single thing is taken into account. Everything. Nothing happens by chance. Nothing happens because you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. It doesn't work that way. Now, there is a concept that the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos tells us of harchik mishachin ra. You should avoid being around bad people because you could get caught up in their punishments. But that doesn't mean you don't deserve it. It just means that what you would have perhaps otherwise been protected from out of Hashem's mercy, you might not gain that extra protection because Hashem's busy dealing with somebody else and you're getting in the way. But as a general rule, nothing happens without a person deserving it. So whenever something bad happens, there are a lot of different factors that need to be taken into account. And what he's saying over here is that all of that is still within the working towards the same goal. And that goal is for people to conquer that evil. For people to overcome the internal evil, the internal evil. For people to spread the goodness. For people to combat the external evil that's around them. And that can be interpersonally, it can be environmentally, it can be nationally, whatever it is. These are all products of Hashem's system for having us grow. And our growth is fighting against the evil, removing it, conquering it, and replacing it with goodness. And the degree to which the goodness can be manifest is based directly on how much the evil has been subdued. So a person, unfortunately, might have an attitude of, well, I'll do both. I know certain things are wrong, I'll do them, and I'll be okay. And I'll do the good things, and it's okay. Right? That's a mentality that a person can have. Very, very much a modern-day mentality. You know, today's day and age, this is a very liberal way of thinking, and very common. It says, okay, so I'm doing some things wrong, but it's okay, because I'm also doing things right. And you can't expect me to do everything, right? But that's not the way it works. I'm telling you very clearly that's not the way it works. In order for the good to be manifest, you have to first uproot the bad. And if you haven't uprooted the bad, there's nowhere for that good to go. So a person might do good things, but if there's nowhere for it to be chal, for it to take effect, then it's just not going to work. And a prime example of this is that Rabbi Saul Salanta writes that when a person is judged after 120, the amount of chesed that they will receive credit for is limited to the amount of chesed that they do at home.
The genie's going straight up.
Oh yeah.
Define home.
In your personal life.
Is that like the whole concept of like what you do when nobody's watching type thing?
Yes, but it's also how you treat the people closest to you when nobody's watching. Yes.
Yeah.
So chesed by definition requires a recipient, so there has to be people involved. So what that means is that even if a person is going to spend their lives doing chesed, and they're going to run a chesed organization that they created, and they're going to be helping through the arms of this organization thousands and thousands of people over the course of their lives, but when they get home, things aren't quite the same, they're not going to get all that credit. It's not going to be there. Why? Why not? The answer is because exactly what we're saying over here. Because in order for that goodness to be manifest, for all of that chesed to really have an effect on you, you have to get rid of the bad. And if at home that bad is still present, that means that all that goodness has nowhere to go. And it's going to stay out there. And you're not going to get credit for it because it hasn't affected you. And the reason it hasn't affected you is because you're still blocking it. And how do we know you're blocking it? Because when you're at home, and all of a sudden you don't have the spotlight, and you don't have all these people telling you how wonderful you are for all the goodness that you do, and you don't have the peer pressure to do what you're doing, and now you're at home and you have a certain expectations of your spouse and your kids and this and that, and all the chesed just went out the window, it's got nowhere to manifest within you. So you're not going to get credit for it. Because the whole concept of credit for mitzvahs is how it affects your neshama. But if you've put up a barrier that doesn't allow all of those good deeds that you've done to impact your neshama, then they won't. And then when you get up there, all those things are not going to be credited to you because you've put up a barrier. So it's very crucial that we understand this concept. We have to realize, Sur Meirav Asay Taiv, as David HaMelech tells us, you have to uproot the bad. If you want the goodness to be able to take effect, you have to first uproot the bad in order to make room, or else it's just not going to work. As Ramchal says right here, the last line that we just read is the inyan mitzias hatayv. The existence of goodness is hispasha v'hischazkai. The expansion and the strengthening of this goodness is kifi hikana haravi kavshay, is directly related to the subduing and the conquering of the evil. So if a person's not going to conquer the evil, the goodness is just not going to have anywhere to go. So,
can I ask a question?
Yes.
In the sentence above that, it says, through all these, in the English, man is affected by evil and placed in its midst in such a way that he can overcome it. In the Hebrew, how does that, can you explain that in another way, that okay, so, I mean, I know you said that, yes, we're placed in Yetzer Hara is there and tempts us, but such a way that we can overcome it.
Yeah, so the idea here is that evil is existent within us and around us. So a person might be placed under the evil, meaning to say that the evil within him is strong. We're all very physical. Since the sin of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, we have become primarily physical people. And as we learned way back in the first section of this book, it is our job to break away from that and to recognize that our core is our neshama, and all of the bodily desires, which include all the human condition desires of ego and honor and all that other stuff, all of those things are the Yetzer Hara. That's what the Yetzer Hara is. It's all of the physicality and everything that physicality brings. And our goal in life is to uproot that and overcome it and conquer it, which is what we're talking about over here. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that b'seicha is when we're in it, what that means is our environment can be an environment that lends itself to evil. If we're living in a society which promotes physicality, which celebrates physicality, all of that stuff, which we certainly live in, then that environment itself is something we have to overcome and conquer. And not everybody has that opportunity in an easy way. I have been blessed and very fortunate to be able to spend this many years living within very kosher environment. Minus one or two people. Overall, the people I can surround myself with in my profession and in my social life are generally not people who are promoting evil. Again, a few exceptions. I'm not going to mention any names. But most people don't have that opportunity. Most people have to work out in the world. They have to go shopping. I have Walmart Plus. I don't really have to go shopping, and it's a wonderful thing. But people have to.
What if you like shopping?
That's a problem. Right. So if you have an environment, a society, a family, a work environment, whatever it may be, that is working against spirituality, so that's what he's referring to here, that you might be placed within the evil. The evil is around you, and that's, again, something you have to be able to conquer and overcome. So those are the two elements that he was describing over there. Okay. All right, are we good with this? Clear? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, as an addendum, I just want to add to this. Years ago, when I was learning in Lakewood, Yerucham Olshan, one of the Rosh Yeshiva, mentioned a very, very interesting and touchy topic, and I'm gonna try to give it over in a way that I think is safe. What he said was that back in the day, people were on the level to live with the mentality of Sturmei Rava Asay type. First, remove the evil, and then do the good. But he said today, most people are not on the level to be able to do that. And instead, we need to just focus on the good. So let me explain what I think that means. I don't think that means that we should give up on trying to get rid of the evil, because that's just not true. So that can't be what he means. I believe what he means is that today, for many, many people, probably the majority of people, to have a focus in life on anything negative is overwhelming, and it's something that we naturally avoid doing. I don't think this was true 200 years ago, maybe even 100 years ago, but it's certainly true today in our society. In our society, we're all about things being happy, we're all about things being positive, and we want everything to always be good for everyone all the time, which is fine, but that weakens a person tremendously. It means that people no longer have the fortitude to face difficulty head on. And instead, what we do today is, instead of facing the difficulty head on, we try to circumvent it, and we work around it, and we focus on the good things that will hopefully make that go away. It's kind of how we tend to approach things, because it's much easier, it's much more comfortable than being honest with yourself and saying, hey, this is a problem I have, and I need to deal with this head on. It's just something that most people don't have the strength to do today. Not saying not everybody, but most people, I don't think, have the strength to face their own problems and deal with them with force today. So I think what Yerucham was saying was that in order to accomplish what Ramchal here is talking about, he's saying that today we need to focus on the good in order to uproot the bad. Not instead of uprooting the bad, but in order to uproot the bad. Back in the day, the order was reversed. The order was, you first focus on uprooting the bad by focusing on that bad and combating it head-on, full force, until you beat it into submission. Today, we don't do that. Most people, anyway. Today, the process is, we focus on good with the intention and with the determination to use that to uproot the bad. Which, I don't know that that's ideal, but that's certainly today's circumstance. So in today's life, where we live in our society, it's our upbringing, and our way of thinking, what we need to do is we need to identify the bad, find the good that will combat that bad, and focus on the good with the express goal of uprooting the bad through doing the good. So, for example, let's say somebody is stingy. Okay? They don't like giving away their money, their stuff, their space. You know, they might have had a beautiful sukkah available for years, never once thought to offer a class in that sukkah. You know?
That's not true.
Kidding. Come on.
So mean.
Gosh.
I'm not going to be here next week.
You're not going to be here next week?
No, I actually won't be here next week.
Oh, great. Okay. So,
maybe not.
So if a person is stingy, so the first thing they have to do is identify the fact that they're stingy. And a lot of people can't do that. They can't do that. They don't realize it about themselves. They think they're giving people because they focus on the one or two things that they do give, which happen to not cost them anything. And they focus on that and they see themselves as giving people. Well, the first step is to identify the fact that that's not really who you are. And really, you're a stingy person and you've got to fix it. That's step one. Now, step two, the old system was, okay, go fight that stinginess. And every time you encounter yourself being stingy, you've got to fight. You've got to fight with yourself. And you've got to say, no, I'm being stingy, I can't do this. And you've got to fight every single time until you completely uproot it from yourself to the point that you're disgusted with yourself for ever being stingy. But that's a tough battle. You have to be brutally honest, and you have to be extremely strong and fortified to be able to fight that battle with yourself. Very tough. Today, in our weakened state, the approach would be, every time you feel that you're being stingy, go do something good for somebody. Go give some money to an organization. Go give some tzedakah. And yes, you were stingy to the guy who came to the door and you gave him $1 and closed the door in his face. But you know what? Now that you close the door, go write a check to the shul. Focus on the good and tell yourself, look, I'm a stingy person, but I'm trying to work on it, and I'm writing this check with the expressed intent of I'm working on my stinginess, and I'm now giving money to the shul. And every time you have an opportunity to do the good of giving, try to do it. Try to do it. Try to do it. And this way, you're not focusing on the bad of the stinginess, but you're focusing on the opportunities for good, which should combat the stinginess. And this way, it's a lot easier. It's a much longer process, potentially. It's much less effective, potentially, until you really get there, which could take a very long time and a lot of hard work. But it is an easier route to take than the old one of beating yourself up every time you do something wrong, or you even want to do something wrong. So I just want to give everybody that outlook because I think it is critical, because this is something everybody should encounter within their lives many, many times. It's something that if we don't encounter, then we need to be asking ourselves, why aren't we encountering this? Because that means we're not trying to work on ourselves. So make sure we do encounter this. But to have a reasonably realistic approach is critical. Because if you try to do something that's way beyond your reach, you're just going to get frustrated and you're going to end up falling harder because you climbed up a little bit and then fell from that height. So let's make sure we have a smart approach to dealing with these issues that we have. All right. Any questions? Okay. All right. I guess nobody cares.
Just contemplating all the things that we can, stop being stingy about. Y'all are more than welcome to just come hang out whenever.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
You need your quiet space.
Yeah.
I oftentimes sit out here. Lock the door so the kids can't come out.
So you're saying we can't come out here when you're here? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, you can.
Oh, okay.
You can. That's why we've had fans, so even in the summer.
There we go. All right.
It's the bugs are the problem.
Yeah, the bugs will become a problem. So let's get those screens up. Okay.
Nope.
The Water? Any waters? We got some waters. Good, good. Shairesh kol metzius hara. The source of the existence of evil. Pu'ulaisav ushlitasai. Everything it does and everything it rules over. Hu ha'alim habayri isbarach esichudai. That is the hiding of Hashem's presence. She'ena mizgala ba'aitzam amitas lakol. Those are circumstances in which Hashem is not revealing His truth to everyone. Ukavishir halam, and based on the measure of hiddenness, kach ushir koach mitzius shara, so is the degree of the strength of the existence of the evil. So basically, as we've already mentioned back in the first section. So this concept is very straightforward. Anything that we see as evil in the world is Hashem concealing His light. The more the light is concealed, the more evil it looks. That simple. Okay? Now, this does not mean that Hashem is not doing it. As we've just learned, that's not the case. When Hashem conceals His light, that means that He's working in a hidden fashion. That doesn't mean that He's not working. It doesn't mean He's still not the one making it happen. He is. It's just in a way that we don't see with clarity Hashem's light. That's all it is. Okay? The shirish called bittul hara, and the source, the root of removing evil, or I should say the cessation of evil, v'havarasai, and removing it, v'ikava kol abriya b'tayv, and to establish all of creation with goodness, this is the revelation of Hashem's true oneness to the world. So it's a very simple equation. The more of Hashem's oneness is revealed, the more goodness we see. The less of Hashem's oneness is revealed, the less goodness and the more evil we see. So our goal in life is to reveal Hashem's goodness. That's the purpose of creation. The purpose of creation,
goodness or oneness?
They are one and the same. Okay. The purpose of creation, as we mentioned, is for us to uproot the evil and replace it with goodness. And as he's just said, that process is the manifestation of Hashem's hiding His oneness versus revealing it. So that means, by simple equation, that our job is to reveal Hashem's oneness and goodness within ourselves and to our immediate surroundings and to the global population of the world. That's our job.
When this whole good and evil, this is all manifested from Gan Eden?
This started from the first moment of creation.
So there was evil in the world when Adam...
The world began with light and dark, and Hashem separated them. Light and dark there represent Hashem's light and the blurring or the shading of Hashem's light. So it was from the first moment of creation, these two powers were part of creation, because that's the purpose of creation.
But they coexisted.
They coexisted in the beginning, and then they were separated so that we would differentiate between them. But yes, they really should coexist, because when we have the ultimate clarity, then we see that even the darkness is Hashem's hand. So they really should coexist, because it's really all one and the same. But Hashem separated it in order for the world to function. And that's where we have the first day of creation, where Hashem separated light from dark.
So even in Gan Eden, they had evil.
Yeah, I mean, look where the first sin happened. Right? Absolutely, because that's the whole purpose of creation. Without evil, there's no point. May as well be Mars.
I don't think there's evil on Mars.
I don't think there's good on Mars. Yes?
I learned that the purpose of life was to become the best giver. And is that in order to... A giver, like Hashem is a giver. Mm-hmm. We should, like Hashem is all these things, but giving is maybe one root.
So we learned here in this class, which is where you heard it, that Rav Dessler writes that the core attribute to all goodness is the attribute of giving.
Because that, to me, resonates more practically than revealing light.
Well, that's the method,
right,
to accomplish
one
that.
Is the strategy and one is the goal.
Yes.
And,
okay, yeah.
And Korach is the taker.
Korach was definitely a taker, yes. And very much so.
Isn't that the name of the next Parsha?
Noach.
After, whenever, I don't know, we just read about it yesterday. Yeah.
There's
But it's in
there's a
June,
song.
and I only know that because that was Sam's.
The Parsha is one thing, but there's some
June,
songs
July
that
area.
have his name.
But his name is Korach the Taker, or that's what we were reading, called the Taker.
Korach doesn't mean to take. It does have two of the same letters.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yes, the first and
title,
last
you're saying.
letter of Korach.
Right,
is-
whatever we were reading, he was called
Korach
Korach
actually
the
means
Taker.
bald.
Oh,
Tarka is actually a bald spot.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
anyway.
Which means
Bald.
he took it off. He balded it.
Okay. All right. Are we clear here? Okay. All right. He just brings a few psukim here, so let's look at these. V'humasha amar akasim. This is what the pasuk means when it says "Ru'u ata." See now. Ki ani hu. For I am him. Meaning, Hashem is saying, it is just me. There is nothing else. It's just me. Everything that you see, everything is me. There is no other existence. Because of another pasuk says, "L'man teidu v'taminu," so that you should know and believe. L'fanai le'nait Israel v'acharei le'yeh. Before me, no God was created, and after me there will not be. V'nimtza, so that comes out. Shesaif tikkun kol habriya, that the ultimate rectification of all of creation, toloi begilui yichudo yisbarach, is all hinged on revealing Hashem's oneness.
Isn't that why it says Vayomu Yeh Hashem Echad U'Shmo Yeh Echad? That's like the pinnacle of Maaseh Bereshit, no?
Yes.
So,
Yes, and in the future, now there's a lot of depth to that, which we're not going to get into, but yes, in the future, that is what will happen. That Mala Aretz Deyas Hashem, that the world will recognize and understand Hashem. The world will be filled with an understanding of Hashem, and about that time is where it says, Vayemu Yeh Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad, and that day Hashem and His name will be one. Again, without getting into exactly what that means, that's not our goal right now, but the concept is the oneness of Hashem being revealed to the world. All right.
All right, so we were just
We'll stop
at
here.
the very bottom of 275.
Do we still have
All
time
right,
for
so
questions?
next
Yes.
weekend, I will not be here. I'll be in Greensboro.
Perfect. So next weekend, we got the place to
Well,
ourselves,
actually,
folks.
technically you would, because Alessa has a gymnastics meet, and Kenzie has a competition. So there will be nobody here. We can leave the gate open
Now
on
we're
this
talking.
side if you want to.
Okay.
when
Yeah.
do the clocks change? Because we changed the clocks here this week.
Oh, right.
This
right.
weekend, this coming Sunday morning.
A week from
In a week.
today.
We're changing them in a week.
A week from Saturday
Yeah,
night.
we get so much more sleep.
5 o'clock
Whole hour.
next week, because it's only this week that we're an hour off.
This Saturday night?
So
I'll send y'all. I'll
A week
send y'all
from
the
last
dates.
night.
But from here until December 10th,
Wow.
it's crazy.
There's commitment.
December 10th, what?
So from now until December 10th, I don't think
Alrighty.
I'm home a single weekend.